Welcome to your Math Manipulatives Toolkit. In this video, we're going to walk through how to use each of the templates, best practices for using with students, and a few tips and tricks to create your own. Let's start with graphing. In this picture graph, students drag out their favorite fruit onto the graph and then discuss the results. In order to update this template for other topics, simply delete the fruit and use the squares. Or search, add, and duplicate your own images for your picture graph. Quick tip, use arrange, align objects left and top to group them together. Use an edit share link to invite all students to add their pick to the graph. And finally, enhance the rigor and send a template out to each student so they can make their own picture graph to send out to their classmates. The fraction strips template is a perfect place for students to visualize fractional amounts. Send each student their own copy by sending this template out through Google Classroom, Canvas, or Schoology. Then students can easily click and drag each of the fractions onto the board in order to visualize the differences between each fraction. If you don't have access to Google Classroom, Canvas, or Schoology, students can easily make a copy of the template to use for themselves by selecting File, Duplicate. In this 10 frames example, students can easily create numbers and map out addition and subtraction problems by simply dragging and dropping the counters into each 10 frame. This digital counters template gives students a hands-on, concrete way to solve addition and subtraction problems. The teacher can easily duplicate the template by right-clicking on the Template tab and selecting Duplicate. This way, there is a clean new board for each problem. The students can add the problems themselves, or the teacher can pre-populate the problems before sending the completed template out to each student. Then, the students can click and drag the counters onto the board to solve the problems, or the teacher can click and drag out images to help students visualize and solve math word problems. For this next template, teachers can add times to each clock and send out a copy to each student to complete and send back to the teacher for review. Double-click inside the text boxes to add the digital times, and click and drag out from the red dots or drag an arrow out from the toolbar to add your analog times. Quick tip, use the toolbar to customize your line width and style. Use this hundreds chart to have students practice their counting. Simply click and drag the numbers onto the correct spot in the hundreds chart. Take it a step further and have students color code to practice their skip counting. The place value chart is another perfect place for the teacher to duplicate the template. Once there is a tab for each problem, the teacher can send a copy to each student, project their own copy, and then guide students through several examples, completing each problem together as a whole class. Or the teacher can add numbers to each tab's workspace and send a copy out to each student to complete and return independently. Last, but certainly not least, teachers and students can use the money template to count and build with money. Take it a step further and challenge students to create different ways to make the same amount of money. I don't know about you, but I never seem to have enough manipulatives for all of my students, and getting manipulatives out ate up so much of my planning instructional time. By using Lucid, you save time and have more than enough manipulatives to go around.